Hi, my name is Mandolin Royal, and right now this cage is empty, but I'm going to be sorting out some baby birds today. I've got a total of 3 pens to work with. This is going to be the cull pen of birds that are going to be grown out for dinner. This second pen is going to be potential keeper birds I'm going to hang on to for further growth and development. And when I'm done sorting this batch of birds here, this is going to be the pen of who can go on to new flocks. My method of sorting is not very scientific. I take my notes, I collect my data, but I haven't ID'd these birds specifically. It's a pretty small batch, and I put a lot of my focus on the bird in front of me and what it's showing me, because it's either going to turn out to be a good chicken or it's going to turn out to be a good dinner. Beyond that, I haven't found a reason to really go into extreme details with the production that I'm looking for and the utility that I'm looking for. I'm not into the fancy show feathers just yet. Maybe later. And my methodology, I know it bothers some of you guys, and you get into tracking the data from each particular bird, and you go through the whole pedigree back into their history. And that's not a bad thing to do, because you can really learn a lot about trait expression and where things are coming from. But I'm pretty busy, especially this time of year. Professionally, I'm a landscaper. I'm a small-time farmer. We've got a lot going on over the spring and summer. So I don't always have the time available to really nitpick things as in-depth as I would like to. So it all boils down to, can I use it next year? Can I eat it in a couple of weeks? Or is it good enough to go on and get somebody else started in the variety? Right now, our wait list for started stock is rather extensive. It's a little bit overwhelming, and I'm having to tell people I might have birds for you in fall of 2024. Here soon, that might get a little bit longer, but good chicken is small scale, and I can't get to everybody as soon as I'd want to. But anyways, we're going to get through these guys. We're going to sort them for gender. We're going to get weights. We're going to see where they're at and what traits they're showing. And I'm going to break down these birds into why I made the decisions that I'm going to make about them. So I'm going to go ahead and get them all caught, get them into the sort cage, and then we'll rock and roll through getting these guys organized. I have another batch behind them. I'll do the same thing here in probably about 2 weeks, and then I'll merge those groups together. And as we go, I'm going to explain a little more about the system that works for us. I'm excited. These guys look chunky. That's a boy. These guys are just shy of 6 weeks old. They're like 5.5 weeks. So it's a perfect time to get through and figure out who's who and what's going on with them. Alright, so as I grabbed them, I went ahead and evaluated for gender. And we now have 6 girls and 7 boys. I did a brief handling of them, and I'm happy to say every single one of them was meaty. So this season's already off to a great start, and I'm pretty excited about those results, because it was a long time coming. The flock I started with, most were meaty, not all, and as I went through the process of learning the genetics and learning what they threw forward, you've got to breed for it. If you're not breeding for it, you're not going to get it consistently. And now that I've been at this for 6 generations, and I have a pretty good feel for what I'm looking for, they're just getting meatier and meatier, and I'm going to have to watch size. I'm going to have to watch the bone density to make sure they stay true to form and function with the way the breed's supposed to be. I'm not trying to get some monster giant birds, but I do want them to have the standard size with a lot of fleshing. They're pretty chilled out. I did interrupt them after their morning breakfast, so they're digesting. But I'm gonna go through these one by one, get a weight, look at them a lot closer, and come up with my 3 groups of who's probably gonna be dinner, who I'm gonna hang on to for more grow out, and who I'm pretty confident I'm not gonna need in the future. And another little caveat to add to that is things can change. These birds are still growing. They are nowhere near adult size. And I'm using my historical data and what I know about this flock to figure out who I'm going to keep around. And I'm going to explain some of that as I get through these birds. But like if you look at these 2 boys right up front, you can see a difference in leg color. The guy on the left has a lot darker legs. The comb isn't quite as developed as the other one. And that's some of the stuff I'm going to be looking for. And once I have my tally, I'm going to let them grow some more. I'm going to weigh them again. I'm going to stalk them for the next several weeks before finalizing my decision. What I come out with today is my first initial assessment, and I like to go back through and recheck myself in case anything changes. There's a lot of weeks between now and when they're table ready, so we'll see. But for now, I'm gonna go ahead and get my scale out. I'm gonna get my notepad for my notes, and we're gonna see what's in here specifically. So I hemmed and hawed around about how best to do this, and I went ahead and emptied out the boys and the girls, and I put them into these carriers so that I can get through them faster without you guys losing interest in what's going on here. So we're gonna go ahead and do the girls first. I'm gonna switch over to an overhead view. That way we can get our notes, we can get our weights, and we can sort them out. There is one thing to add about the girls though, and that's because they are gonna be the future egg makers. And you don't wanna miss out on good breakfast eggs over something trivial. So I'm a lot more lenient on the females, and I give them some more time to show me what they're made of. So really the 3-pen concept is more about the boys than the girls. We're gonna figure out who's who and who's going where for this initial sorting. And by doing this, this is gonna put fewer birds into the pen space. It's gonna increase their space. It's gonna increase the square foot per bird. And that always, always, always helps with them being able to grow to their fullest potential. If you have them crowded on top of each other, you might not be seeing the full genetic expression that's available, and you always want to keep upsizing their space as they grow. If they're crowded, they're not going to be happy birds. So that's the other point in doing this, is everybody's going to gain an additional 5 square foot per bird. You can't argue with that. It's necessary. But let's get down to the numbers and let's see where these guys are at 5.5 weeks old. Alright, the scale is turned on. I've got the first pullet in my hands. And I like to hold them in my hands like this because it gives me an idea of the roundness. That plumpness comes from width, and putting them in your hands like so lets you feel it. When I feel down the keel, you can put 2 fingers on either side of the neck like that. You can flip over like so, and you can feel down the keel. This girl isn't giant, but she is meaty in here, and you can feel that. You can kind of feel a little bit of keel right there, and you only feel it down the length. You can't feel any bones in this area. I don't think this is the biggest female, but she is going to be our baseline female. And what I mean by baseline is the first bird you grab doesn't have to be any particular bird. Just get one out and put it on the scale. She is 1 pound 3 ounce. So we'll go to the female column. 1 pound 3 ounce. So we have our first weight, and everybody after her is either going to be bigger or smaller. So I'm going to stick her into one of the sort pens, and we're going to see who's bigger and who's smaller, which will then give us our average. Temperament wise, I've got these birds like golden retrievers. Whoops. I'm not gonna argue with that. Some other stuff to look at while you have them at this age: they are molting feathers, they are growing feathers, but you can still look at what's going on. This is not a good side profile view, but her wings right now are very nicely tucked. If we look at leg color, they're turning blue. The actual depth of blue will come in later, but if I had to hazard a guess, this girl's probably going to finish up with paler legs. Now, since she is the first bird that I've grabbed, I don't know yet if she's going in the keeper pen or not, and I'm going to base that off of initial weights because I'm all about that growth rate, and I want to capture the fastest growers. She's plenty meaty, but we're going to see how she stacks up against her peers. So I'm going to go ahead and set her into position 1. And then I'm going to grab another bird. Just the first one in waiting will do. You don't have to be particular on that. So now that we know our first bird was 1 pound 3 ounces, we'll put this one on the scale. Hands on either side. I think this one feels similar, perhaps slightly wider. Let's see what the weight is. 1 pound 5 ounces. So we're going to write down 1 pound 5 ounces. We're going to turn her over. We're going to feel that keel. Keel bone's nice and straight. Might be a little shorter than the other one. Check the wings now to see where they're at and what they're doing. Check the leg color. Hold still. Similar. On track though. So because she was a little heavy, excuse me. Because she was a little heavier, I'm gonna put her in the middle spot. And we're gonna keep going through the remaining 4 until we have our groups largest to smallest, and remembering what they feel like in our hands. This is another good one. I like her. Alright, so the third little girl, I'm gonna get these feathers off of here. Pretty sure they don't weigh much, but I don't want to change what's going on with the scale. In the hands, this one feels smaller. If I had to guess, she might be our lightest one yet. Leg color's paler than the other 2. She feels meaty, she just feels smaller. So let's see if that's true. 1 pound 2 ounces. So she's an ounce less. And I'm gonna put her in the 3rd spot after writing down 1 pound 2 ounces. So the remaining 3 We now have a pretty good baseline from our first 3. And now we can categorize them by weight. If I had to guess, this one's gonna join the one we just did. She feels a little bit narrow, actually. I wouldn't be surprised if she's lighter weight than the one we just did. Light color is paler. Let's see what the scale says. 1 pound, 1 ounce. The lightest one yet. So she's gonna join the one that was 1 pound, 2 ounces, because they're in the same category. Feathering in nicely. Pretty chill. But I can feel the difference in the body. Even though we're looking at just a couple ounces, this one feels more narrow. We'll do a side view between the smallest and the biggest and see if we can spot the difference in the underbody width. See if that might be contributing to this. But we've got another couple birds to do, so I'm gonna go ahead and set her with the other smaller one. I'm gonna write down 1 pound, 1 ounce. All right, number 5, where are you? Ooh, you're chunky. This one feels different in the hands. It might be one of the heavier ones. We'll find out in a second. Not quite as fleshy as an earlier bird. Feathering in pretty okay so far. Head feels small. Alright, well, let's see what she weighs. Ooh, 1 pound, 1 ounce. So she's going with the similar sized birds here. And we have one more to do. Alright, let's go. Come here. So many feathers, you guys. You feel pretty good. That looks pretty good. What color is going somewhere blue? You don't have a tiny little peanut head. Let's see what you weigh. 1 pound, 6 ounces. So she's going into position 2 with the other bird. That was 1 pound, 5 ounces. So 1 pound, 6 ounces. All right, so I stagger hatch all season long. So my plan here is to take the bottom performers and the mid performers, put them into probably going to new flocks. These two in the center, I'm going to hang on to them for more growth, and I'm going to add to their group as they go. Now, in terms of consistency, this is the thing I had to fight for generations, and that is getting this to within a couple of ounces of each other. That's a pretty tight size window. It can be better, and we'll get there. But I want to hang on to the 1 pound 6 ounce and the 1 pound 5 ounce, and I want to see how they develop further, because they've got the size and they've got the growth rate. Since I know I'm going to be hatching all season long, I don't need to hang on to all of these birds. And there's a lot of good odds that these other ones are going to turn out just fine. But I'm looking for teeny tiny little details to get down to the best 10% of what I hatched all season long. So these are the first 2 pullets I'm keeping for this year. And I'm just going to keep adding to it until I come up with about 30 or 40 birds out of about 350 to 400 birds grown this season. I'm just going to look for a couple individuals to hang on to, and the rest of them are either going to be productive layers or they're going in the freezer. So I'm going to go ahead, get this camera set back up again, and we're going to go through the boys after I put these girls into 2 different pens. I'm not going to call any of these girls. I didn't find any flaws about them that would indicate dinner quality at this point. So I'm going to put the 2 in my keeper pen. I'm going to put the others into the probable new flock pen, and we're going to watch them grow some more. Then we're going to figure out what boys are going where here in a second. Alright, so now we're going to go through the boys. That crate was a little bigger, so I had to reorganize a little. They're going to be substantially bigger than the females, and the width already feels substantially different. This is the first bird I grabbed from the crate. He's going to be our baseline. We're going to pull that wing out. Oh, I know, you got the vigor. Don't worry about it. That one looks good. Leg color's probably going to be on the pale side at this age. I'd like to see it darker, but it's one of the incremental improvements that I'm working on. One thing that makes this guy an automatic dinner is the inverted comb, where the back side of the comb sucks in on itself. But I still want to know the weight, and I still want to know what he feels like, and I want to still look at everything else about him. Nope, scale turned off while I was yammering. Hang on, we'll be done in a second. He is 1 pound, 10 ounces. So I'm going to pull that bird off there. I'm going to write down 1 pound, 10 ounces, and I'm going to put him in position 1 as our baseline bird. Like I said with the girls before, the first bird you grab, everyone else after that is going to be bigger or smaller. So in no particular order, I'm reaching into the carrier, I'm grabbing another bird. This one feels a little leaner. It doesn't quite have the same fleshing, but width-wise, it feels wider in the front. The more birds you grab and handle, the more familiar you get with what they feel like. This one feels like he has really good fleshing. He feels pretty chunky. Check the wings. Hold still, you're all right. Check the wings. Let's see if you're more than the other guy. You gotta stay on the scale, buddy. Also 1 pound, 10 ounces. So we're gonna make a note of that, and we're gonna put them in the same pen as the other. Oh, one more thing. Also has an inverted comb. So based off of that, the first pen here to my right is going to be the dinner pen. Now that we have the dinner pen identified, we can keep going through these boys, looking at development so far and their weight so far. And we'll see how the other two pens fill up. We have number 3. He feels smaller, but his comb is starting off pretty good. Hold still. Wings look pretty good. Put them on the scale. 1 pound, 7 ounces. Check the leg color. That's pretty pale. So I'm gonna put him in the middle spot for being less weight. Pale-legged, probably gonna be a cull. We'll see what else is in the crate. And we'll leave that third spot open for the better birds. 1 pound, 7. I'm gonna go ahead and write that down. And stick him over here. So now that I'm 3 birds into this, with 4 more to go, I'm hoping I find heavier weights, good combs that are not inverted, and darker leg color. We'll see what's in this carrier. Holy cow. This one is extra wide. I can feel that. Man. This is going to be a chunky bird. He has fleshing very strongly and prominently through the undercarriage, right along that keel bone. The way that he fills out my hands, this is nice. Let me see your comb. Nice. It's probably gonna have too many spikes, but I'll take that over inverted any day. Check the wing. Hold still. Thank you for showing me that other wing. Let's see what you weigh. He has vigor. He has spunkiness. I like to see that too. £1 pound, 9 ounces. So he's not quite as heavy, but he feels like he would be heavier. So I bet he has shorter legs, and I bet he's shorter in the body. Leg color is about the same color, but I'm still going to put him in the 3rd position, because overall I like him quite a bit at this age. All right, 3 more boys to go. Come here, buddy. Not quite as wide as the one we just had, but not bad either. Let's see your comb. Inverted comb. So that's gonna get dinner status. But we're gonna still check out the rest of them. He feels really fleshy. He's got really good vigor. He does not like this at all. And that's alright, he doesn't have to like it. I do like seeing that he's protesting, and I do like to see that fight in them. That's not a bad thing. So we'll go ahead and put him on the scale. You gotta just stand on there. It's not always easy. 1 pound, 8 ounces, and I'm putting them into the first position with the others that had that same comb flaw. Alright, come here. This one also has an inverted comb, and that's all coming out of Tornado's pen. If you're not familiar with Tornado, he's the bird that I grew out last summer that had a lot of growth rate and fleshing. And none of the birds in that pen show an inverted comb, but here they are throwing it forward, so it's a recessive thing. Right there it is. Still feels pretty good. Wings look good. Man, I tell you what, if it's not one thing, it's another with these birds. You'll fix a flaw, like right now this season, the wings and the toes are doing a lot better and I'm finding other stuff to call for. And that's the way of it. So this one is the heaviest so far. He's 1 pound, 12 ounces. But he's still gonna go in the dinner position because of that comb. I can't allow that to get a foothold into the flock. And I'm gonna have to pair hatch and backtrack my way through and figure out who's throwing it forward specifically. So that means I'm gonna have to collect the hens and hatch from them individually so that I can see if it's coming through Tornado and spreading across all the hens, or if it's a particular hen within that pairing that makes it happen with Tornado. We'll find out. Here's our last guy. He doesn't feel quite as meaty, but the comb is good. Probably gonna be a spike too many. That's all right. Let me see your wings. Not bad. So far this season, I don't have any complaints about wings. Foot color. Most of the boys are running pale. That's Tornado's fault because he also has pale legs. Let's see what you weigh. 1 pound, 7 ounces. So I'm gonna go ahead, put this bird in the middle spot with the other similar bird. So after getting through those 7 boys, I have 1 I'm gonna grow out for me. I have 2 viable candidates for more growth to see if they're worth going elsewhere. And I have 4 for the dinner pen. With them being 5.5 weeks old, that means about 10 more weeks before we can have our first dinner. And then we can check and see where these are at. So I'm gonna go ahead and put them with the girls that have been sorted out. And I'm gonna grab the best of the batch from both genders, and we're gonna take a look at them with the side profile. But this is how you sort through them and you figure out what's worth growing more. It's how you designate what pen they should go to. And I've tried using leg bands in the past, and with how frequently most of the styles fell off, I got frustrated. And I'm a big fan of using my hands, using my eyes, using my data. So what I'm gonna do, now that I've got this data here, I'm gonna write down their hatch date. I'm gonna write down the pen numbers and how I split them up. And this right here, that's blood. It's from my finger right there. I don't know how I did it. Such is the life, though. Just injuries popping up. So let me go ahead and get these guys where they're going. Bring out our best of the batch. So here's our tally for the day of getting through these 13 birds. And I found the best trio in the group so far based on their expression of initial traits and where they're at so far. We have the 2 heaviest pullets set aside who are reasonably correct. And we have the best boy based on what they're showing me so far. He's not the biggest boy, and that's all right. It's not always about size, and I can rely on the females to pass their size forward, so I'm more worried about the boys being overall correct, including having a pretty decent comb, structure, leg color, etc. Meat, it matters, but it's not the end-all, be-all, and you can breed for that so long as you don't lose it within your pairings. You want at least one bird within a breeding arrangement to be carrying the frame and the fleshing. And I've learned to rely on the females for that more so than the males. But if the male feels nice and meaty, like Mr. 1 pound 9 ounce, that's going to help us out. So I wrote down their hatch date, I wrote down their age for these weights, and I can tear this sheet off and file it away in my file. If I was a lot better at this, I'd have spreadsheets going. I would have wing bands, because wing bands don't fall off like leg bands do. I'm going to get there. But here's our best trio. You guys want to get up, move around? Stress you out? I totally stressed them out. Look up, let me see you. These 3 are probably going to be dang decent birds. So I'm definitely going to hang on to them for more growth. I'm going to keep stalking them to see how they develop. Look, like puppies. That makes it challenging doing the dual purpose thing when they're pretty sweet. Here's our underbody width. I can get 2 or 3 fingers into that pullet. The male here, he's probably gonna do pretty okay. But I'm gonna go ahead and get some water drinkers and feeders going into their pens, get them situated for the rest of the day. This pellet's gonna have the lighter leg color, but the boy's gonna have really good leg color. I think this is gonna be a pretty balanced group that's gonna be worth the space and the time and the feed to grow them out. So in the other pens, this is our dinner pen with the 4 boys that had the inverted combs. Also, the largest birds, and that's frustrating when that happens. I'm going to put that good trio into this pen, and these are the birds that can be released elsewhere. They don't show any immediate flaws. They're growing good, they're fleshy, they're meaty. They have all the important core traits going on without defects. Still going to give them time. I'm not going to release them just yet, just to make sure. But look how much more room is in that pen now. They're going to have the tools for success, along with the rest of them. I have more chicks behind them. So far I'm hatching bi-weekly, small batches, with a focus on 2 particular pens. So far so good. We have birds to eat, birds to keep, and birds to get somebody else started with. More on this later. Feel free to like and subscribe as we get through our grow season and what's going on with developing these birds into better birds without getting hung up on particular traits. You don't want to get flock blind. And I'm always having to watch myself to make sure I'm not getting hung up on size. There's a lot more to it than just that. But so far, I'm starting the year with 3 I'm going to keep for me. Hopefully, I can get up to about 30 or 40 birds by the end of this season. We'll find out. We're going to track their progress.